Clare FM's In the Garden with Clonroad Garden Centre, Clonroad Business Park in the heart of Ennis. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out, our friendly staff are here to help your garden grow. Open 7 days a week, Monday to Sunday.
And a very good morning to the aforementioned Judy Beck. How are you?
Good morning, Alan, and a beautiful morning out there today.
Oh, it's pure gardening weather, isn't it, Judy?
It is, and at long last. At long last.
So, yeah, hallelujah, we all said when we saw the sun outside the window. 086 1800 964 if you've any gardening questions for Judy. There is a €25 voucher for the Clonroad Garden Centre up for grabs for one lucky listener. So get your gardening questions in for Judy to that number. Do include your name and where you're from if you'd like to be in the running for that €25 voucher, and lots to get through before we get to that. And needless to say, a few jobs drawn up for people. They can't use the weather as an excuse for not getting out there gardening, but that's all to come. Let's get to this week's topic first off, Judy, which is growing rhododendrons and azaleas.
Yes, and now is the season for the gorgeous rhododendrons and azaleas, and these are the shrubs that flower at this time of year. April, May is their season, and huge showy shrubs that absolutely eye-catching. Now I just want to say before I start, I'm not talking about Rhododendron ponticum, which is the very invasive rhododendron that we often see in the news growing in places like Killarney National Park and Connemara and areas of Tipperary. Very invasive rhododendron. You can't buy in the garden centres, thankfully. We're talking about the hybridised versions, which are not invasive, but have the beautiful flowers, usually in colours of red, pink, white and purple, and they really are showstoppers in the garden. Now, I would say that the one thing about these plants is that they need a particular type of soil, and they need ericaceous soil or acidic soil, boggy soil. Don't do well on limestone. So there are parts of the county that don't have limestone, but will grow these plants. They're the same family as camellias as well, and blueberries. They all are ericaceous plants. They need an acidic soil, a boggy soil, and then they will do very well. If you don't have acidic soil, then you can grow them in pots in ericaceous compost, and we would recommend the Westland brand of ericaceous compost. It needs to be a really good quality compost for growing these plants. So don't go for a cheap ericaceous compost. Make sure you get a good brand like Westland if you're going to be growing them in pots. Now, how do you tell if you have the right soil? A lot of people don't know whether they are on limestone or not, and you can buy a testing kit in the garden centre to test the pH of your soil. So a neutral soil is 7, and a limestone soil would be higher than 7, and what we're looking is for an acidic soil, so below 7, so 5.5 or 6, and you can't get a testing kit. Now, if you don't want to get a testing kit, there is another way. If you, of course, see rhododendrons growing in your local area, or if you see camellias growing in your local area in the ground, then you probably have the right soil. Or if you see blue hydrangeas growing in your area, blue hydrangeas shows that you have a low pH and you're not on limestone. If it's pink hydrangeas in your local area, then you are probably on limestone, and you will need to grow rhododendrons or azaleas in a pot. I know that's a lot of information at once, but very important that you make sure that if you're going to get rhododendrons and azaleas, that you do grow them in the right soil.
It's okay, Judy. The Morning Focus listeners are an intelligent bunch, and they can soak up multiple tidbits of information. So no fears there.
They're on their toes this morning.
Which is just as well, because you're not finished. What else do they need to know?
Okay. So rhododendrons and azaleas are actually woodland plants, and they do better in dapple shade. They don't like full sun, and they don't like deep shade, but they do like shade. So very nice for a shady area of your garden if you want gorgeous pink big flowers, and they do like quite a lot of rainwater as long as you have good drainage. They wouldn't like to sit in their roots to be sitting in soil that's very wet, so it does need to be able to be drained. Now, rhododendrons are generally, they're evergreen shrubs. They have big, large, leathery leaves, tough leaves, and azaleas are their first cousin. They're can be evergreen or deciduous, and they have a smaller leaf and smaller flowers. So azaleas generally would be the ones that you would use for containers. Rhododendrons or azaleas can go in the ground, again, as long as you have the right soil. And also remember, not just about the soil, but by fertilising them, you would need to use a particular type of fertiliser, sulphate of iron, sequestered iron, ericaceous plant food. For feeding them, don't use a tomato food. Make sure you get the right rhododendron and azalea, same fertiliser as you use for camellias. And you can buy that, of course, at Clonroad Garden Centre.
Well, which is true.
Yes, it is true. And so you can buy your compost, we have beautiful rhododendrons and azaleas in stock. They are getting more and more popular, and I think that's just because people are realising what gorgeous flowers they are, and really useful, lovely plant at this time of year. And you'll often see them, actually, if you're ever watching the golf. I was looking after them last night now when I was watching the majors, and I didn't see the Masters. I didn't see them, but often you'll see them on the golf courses in America, these absolutely gorgeous plants, but we can grow them in Ireland as well.
You'd have to doff your cap to the people who look after the golf course at Augusta, though, wouldn't you? If that was if my back garden looked 2% like that course, I'd be delighted myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing the tortoises, I don't know if you saw them as well on the golf course. They're so cute by the pond. But,
okay, so great advice on rhododendrons and azaleas. I missed the tortoises.
Did you?
I can't believe it. And all the things that are happening there. I was so focused on Rory and Shane. I just blinkered to tortoises. Anyway, that is something I didn't think I'd be talking about in connection with golf. It is 086 1800 964 to send in your gardening questions for Judy. Remember, there's a €25 voucher at the Clonroad Garden Centre up for grabs. Plenty of questions flooding in. But before we get to that, let's get to the jobs for April.
So what do we have this week? The weeds, the wonderful weeds. Of course, as the grass starts to grow and the plants start to grow, the weeds also start to grow. And there's that old saying, a weed in time saves 9. So, or at least
that
my
old
mother used to
saying.
say that. And it's so true. If you get on top of the weeds at this time of year, then you're going to, it's going to really benefit you later in the summer.
What did she say about stitches?
Oh, stitching times. Oh, yeah. But I'm sure we use it for weeds as well.
Oh, definitely.
It's so true. Maybe that was just in my house. What else? Moving on from weeds. We buy some hardy perennials at this time of year. So if you want a really colourful garden in the summer, go out and get your perennials now. Loads to choose from, and good hardy ones that will come back year after year. Of course, a perennial is a plant that comes back every year, and you don't have to sow it time and time again, hopefully. And what's another job? Oh yes, I'm sure lots of people have moss on their lawn, being a very wet winter. And of course, we do get an awful lot of moss in the lawns in this country, especially in the west of Ireland. So lots of products on the market there for sorting out the moss in your lawn. You can, if you've loads of elbow grease, go out and rake it out yourself. But there is products that will make that just a lot easier for you.
Okay,
but time to do it now.
Brilliant stuff. And look, with the weather the way it is, you've no excuses, lads and lassies. Get out there and do what Judy says. She knows what she's talking about, except for stitches and weeds. Let's get to the listeners' questions. There's tons of those, Judy, so you're going to be kept busy here.
Okay.
So let's crack into it. Remember, €25 voucher up for grabs for one lucky listener. And the first question from a listener says, good morning, I have a question for Judy. What can I plant to put colour in my pots?
Oh, right. Okay, great question, because it is that little bit too early for summer bedding. So it's just a bit too cold. Nighttime temperatures are a bit low. So I would probably go for things like those gorgeous dianthus, also known as pinks, or carnations. They smell beautiful, they last all summer, and they're pretty hardy. Other things you can go for, of course, are the pansies, the violas. They're always a really good staple for the garden. They're so colourful, so cheerful, and really good for the bad weather. Ranunculus, which is a rose kind of shaped flower. Not an awful lot of people know about it, but it's perfect at this time of year. Beautiful flowers. And Sonettis, daisy type flowers, available now. They flower all summer if you keep them deadheaded, and it will really brighten up the pots before the summer stuff comes in.
Okay, Brilliant stuff. Let's get to our second question from Anne and Tuna. Says, Alan, Judy, I've a lovely magnolia tree at my back wall. The main road is the other side of the wall. When it rains and cars are passing, a shower of water splashes in and the tree is getting ruined. There are some buds on it. Can I move it? And any tips for a quick growing tree or shrub to replace it there? Thanks, says Anne. And I suppose that's Masters related as well. Augusta, well known for magnolias.
Yes, Magnolia Drive.
And azalea bushes.
Yeah, that's right. The golf courses do use them because of the flowers are just magnificent. But if she wants to move her magnolia, wouldn't do it at this time of year. Would probably wait now till the winter. It is difficult to move. They don't move terribly well. But if it's really getting ruined, she's nothing to lose by trying to do that. Just take as much as the root ball as you can. You know, the older the tree is, the harder it is to move. But both physically and also the tree surviving, it's because the roots are so big as time goes on. But leave it till early winter and then try and move it. And to replace it with a hardy shrub, the viburnums are really good. Very tough plants, a real landscaping plant. You'll see them used a lot by landscapers because of how tough they are and how successful they are and how well they grow. So, and the flowers aren't as big, so they won't get as damaged. So it certainly could also help with any pollution there coming in from all those cars. So maybe try a viburnum would be a really good suggestion there.
Okay, there you go, Anne, and best of luck with that. Breed Devaney is next up. Good morning to you, Breed, who says, will you ask Judy, do you have to fill the big ceramic pots with moss peat, or could you put some stones at the bottom? I'm just about to do some pots for the summer.
Well, another really good question, because pots actually do good if you fill them with stone because you get extra drainage, and you don't want the holes in your pots getting clogged up. So putting stone in will help to prevent that. Also, what you can mix with compost is some soil base, like John Hines number 2 or number 3, which helps the compost stop from drying out, or even topsoil, not topsoil from your garden, but bought topsoil. If you mix that in with your compost, it's really good to prolong the life of your compost. So you could definitely put in some stones at the bottom and then fill it with a mixture of compost and topsoil. That would be the best mix.
All right, there you go, Breed. I hope that works out well for you. Bridget Gary says, good morning, Judy. When degrading tulips, how far down the stem do I go?
Oh, hi. Good morning, Bridget. How are you today? So if you're taking the tulips, if they've flowered for you already and you want to deadhead them, you can take the whole stem off for doing that.
Okay, there you go. Nice and succinct, but there's plenty more to get through, Judy.
Mm-hmm.
Another question here saying, good morning, Judy. What would be best to kill moss on tar, as washing powder is only turning it brown? I have a lot, by the way. Presumably means wasp rather than washing powder. Yeah,
well, you know, there is a particular type of brush you can get. Oh, if you have a lot, it's tough. But there is a brush you can get for brushing moss off. And, of course, you can go after it with the hose then. But it's tough going, I know, if you have a lot. There's also, there is algae controls that you mix with water and you just water them on with a spray can or with a watering can, and that will probably save your back, probably. But there are lots of different moss products on the market for tar, and you know, if you don't want to go the brushing route, then call into us and we can certainly help you to pick the right product.
You could do worse now than go down and pick the brains of Judy and go there, Clonroad Garden Centre. They'll see you right. Please ask Judy about the following, says Teresa. No problem, Teresa, I will. Teresa says, I recently purchased a bag of record potatoes for eating, but many had sprouted shoots. Can I use those potatoes as seed potatoes to sow now? If so, will I cut them in half?
So taking the first question first, can you use those potatoes? Yes, you can, and yes, they probably will produce a good crop of potatoes for you, but it's with the caveat that they haven't been checked for any viruses. So the seed potato that you buy, particularly for growing a crop, has been checked to make sure it's virus free, so you're not introducing anything into your garden. So if you use a potato that has a virus, then your soil might be contaminated. So next year when you go to grow potatoes again, you could be spreading the virus. Whereas when you buy them, particularly for growing a crop, they have been checked and certified virus free. As for cutting them in half, that used to be the old people used to do it that way in the olden days, and some people still do it, but the new thinking is that you could be more likely to introduce diseases, that if it's cut then it doesn't have the skin as a barrier, and it's possible that it could get a disease easier. But it is still done, so you can if you want. They'll still grow.
Okay, thank you for your question, Teresa. A good morning, says another listener. What bulbs can I plant now? Said listeners Concepta in Bearfield. Good morning to you, Concepta.
Oh, good morning, Concepta. So there's lots of lovely summer bulbs at the moment. There's the dahlias, of course, the most popular of what we sell. Begonias, and cheaper to grow them from dry bulbs than from buying the plants. You can also put in lily of the valley for a nice scent. Crocosmia or Montbretia is available in bulbs. What else do we have? Gladioli, freesias. So there's a huge range. Actually, we have a whole stand of dry bulbs in the garden centre. Well, a lot of them are sold now because people have been buying them over the last month, but there are a good few left, so we could certainly help with that. But all of the above mentioned ones for sure.
Okay, Maura in Quinn has a question as well. She says, hi Alan, last week Judy mentioned the fertiliser to apply to fruit trees and fruit bushes. Would appreciate if she could mention it again. Many thanks.
I'd say it was sulphate of potash. Probably.
It was, yeah.
There's also fish blood and bone. That's a good one as well. But sulphate of potash is particularly for fruit trees and fruit bushes. Yeah.
So there you go, Maura. Hopefully that helps you grow your fruit trees and fruit bushes. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Many more questions that I just couldn't get to. There can be only one winner of that €25 voucher for the Clonroad Garden Centre, and it is Breed Devaney who had the question on the ceramic pots and the moss peat. So thank you very much, Breed. Thank you to all of you for getting in touch with your questions. And Breed, you can collect that voucher from reception at Clare FM. If you go down to the garden centre and ask them for it, they'll say you need to walk up to Clare FM. So we'll save you that few steps. Breed, thank you and well done. Thanks to the rest of you, and big thanks as well to Judy Beck from the Clonroad Garden Centre. Judy, thank you very much.
See you next week.
And see you next week.